Family, welcome to 180 Truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What are the truths about the masks that men wear? Sisters, I think you're still going to want to tune in to this one here. I want my brothers and my sisters to face the truth.
We must face the moment of truth, baby.
Take off the mask so we can walk in freedom. Come on, let's go. Thank you for being here at 180 Truth, and I want to encourage you to come on through to simplyaviance.com, get some fresh gear, help me get a cup of coffee. Simplyaviance.com. If you sign up for the first time, 25% off your first order and free shipping on orders of $100 or more. Please, we are a small business out of Winter Haven, Florida. Come through and support the channel. Support simplyaviance.com. Once again, family, welcome to 180 Truth. I am Dr. Honorio Chaparo, and the question is, will you know the truth?
Now you know the truth.
You know, I have some masks in my own house here. This is a mask that I got from a World Wrestling Entertainment event that I went to with my son. One of the very first one I went to live. I was a wrestling fan growing up with my dad, and my son actually treated me. So I went and I got a mask. Finn Balor. Anybody remember this? Any wrestling fans out there? I got the mask. And I also have a mask here that my son, same son, Jeremiah, salute to Jeremiah, who is busy doing all kinds of filming. And I don't know what film he did this one for, but I kind of like this mask a lot. It is tough. It is definitely like, yeah, this is tough. But that being said, masks. You know, I gotta say, being the director of men's ministry for a long time, since 2005 at the Christian Cultural Center, I've had that privilege. You know, being the director there, under Dr. A.R. Bernard, I got to say that's always been one of the challenges among men. When we get together, we do Bible study, you get a guy who, he likes to hide behind how much Bible knowledge he knows, right? He never lets anybody else say anything. You get a guy that's quiet the entire time. You get one guy introducing himself by what he does and really talking about everything that he does, and all the ways different masks are expressed through words, masks that we wear, and each kind of mask cuts us off from something. I don't agree with everything in this book, but the eight masks of men by Reverend Frederick Gross, I'm still making it a study, something I would love to do more in depth. Right now, I'm just going to tease out part one. There are 8 masks total, and I want to talk about the first 4 in this video, and I'll come back and share the next 4, however it is that the YouTube algorithm, this is part 2 and you need part 1. Either way, masks are structures, projections of who we are not, who we pretend to be. There might be some truth behind the mask, some element about who we are, but it's usually cutting us off from something. What exactly do masks cut us off from? Besides the fact that, practically speaking, a mask hides our identity, right? But a mask can also hide fears and desires. Let's take a look at the first 4 that cut us off from those particular fears and desires, especially when it comes to men. So we talk about masks. We talk about masks versus fear and the desire. What's covering up? Well, again, this is my take. I love the outline in regards to what Reverend Gross shares, but I don't agree with everything in all the direction he goes in. I'm from a particular Christian belief system, and he's from another. I do love the outline, do love the dialogue, the conversation, would love to hear what you have to say about it. Number 1 is the mask of the loner. The mask of the loner. There are statistics right now going out about how lonely men really are. I remember listening to this story about a guy who was getting married, and the day and then they asked him, who will be your best man, and he had no men to choose from. It's very crazy. Again, this guy wasn't that old, but he was at a place in his life where he was alone. He was the loner. You think about the Lone Ranger, where his compatriot was somebody who's beneath him. The classic Western, the Lone Ranger, and his companion was Tonto, a Native American, First Nations people. I don't remember what ethnic group he was from from the First Nations, but his Spanish name, Tonto, in Spanish means somebody who's silly, someone who's stupid. And so here he was, the Lone Ranger, and he considers his friends beneath him, the loner. And the loner hides a man's real desire for community. But usually there is a sense in which there's some shame, some sense of his worth or measuring up. And that's why he doesn't let others in, the loner. The loner is a mask. It is an expression of the false self. You see it in movies as well. We still have movies like James Bond or any other Jason Statham movie or something like that, where the loner is depicted, and this guy, he doesn't need anybody, and he's a self-made man, and there's some American mythology behind that too, and all of it hides a man's real desire for community, for brotherhood. Any man that tells you he doesn't want brotherhood, he doesn't want real community, he doesn't need it, he's lying. He's lying to himself. He's lying to God if he worships God. And he's ultimately cutting himself off because he's afraid he's not going to measure up. He's afraid he's not going to measure up. He's cutting himself off from community. The mask of rage and anger, right? You think about all these certain kinds of musical genres, whether it's hip hop or certain forms of metal, and there's all this rage and anger, and you see guys tough in the street, ready to fight and throw down, and what's it really hiding? Well, anger is a secondary emotion. See, the mask of rage and anger hides pain. It hides hurt. The first emotion behind rage, behind anger, is hurt. Anger is an expression as well, one of the stages of grief. We can grieve and be given to anger. We can go very quickly from shock and denial to anger. We can go from blaming and anger go together, and we're angry, and what it is we're hurt. We're in pain. So many of the so-called social justice warriors out there are really people who are projecting out into the cosmos the pains of their own upbringing, their own unresolved childhood issues. The mask of compulsions, of addictions, where there is this constant, whether it's addiction to substance abuse, an addiction to having physical intimacy over and over again with strangers. There are addictions, addictions to work, the compulsions. I gotta work, I gotta go to a job, they hide a desire for love, a desire to know and be known. And that goes back to the issue of shame, goes back to the issue of fears of rejection, compulsions and addictions, that mask there that we see in all its different forms. They cut us off from real love. And men need love. Oftentimes we say, well, men don't need to be loved, men need to be respected. No, men, we understand respect. That is a high value for us. And depending on the relationship, respect is a form of love. But we need love. Love in regards to intimacy, to know and be known by others. That's intimacy. And men who say they don't want it are wearing a mask, and they're lying to themselves. There is the mask of performance, very similar to compulsions in some ways, but performance. I've gotta do good. It hides the desire for acceptance. It hides the desire for acceptance, and the fears are rejection and a sense of incompetence, performance. Listen, there are even places in church where guys want to perform a certain way, whether it's preaching or teaching or leading a ministry. And again, not just men, women will hide behind this mask as well, this mask of performance. Some people will call it the imposter syndrome. Where, listen, you are ultimately your performance, it was what matters most. You're all about accomplishing certain tasks and you're so desiring to be accepted. And that's the acceptance and validation you crave for by your performance. You perform and you are accepted, you're validated, you're affirmed, and that's your addiction. And you're afraid because you're afraid of rejection, you're afraid of looking incompetent. These are the first four masks that we as men can tend to put on. What is the solution? What is the proper response to these masks? To the loner, it's the calling to brotherhood. To the one that is hiding behind rage and anger, lay it aside and embrace lamentation. You know that 75% of the Psalms are actually laments. Men need to know how to cry well, to lay down the hurt and the pain. Yeah, we aren't meant to again express ourselves in way that women, very feminine ways. But that's why I said men need to know how to lament, to have the right words to express our grief, our sadness, our compulsions. Whatever you can't say no to is your master. And so we need to be able to say no to our compulsions and embrace being loved. Embrace being loved. And be in a place where we are loving others. Let that be a drive for us where we are looking out for the interests of others and life is not just about us. Because the common factor with all these masks that we wear as men is that we're making life about us. And undergirding so many of these masks is not just pride, but also the pride in the sense of our independence, our autonomy, our image, our ego, but also self-pity. We do feel sorry for ourselves, and so the masks feed off of the pride and the other self-pity. And then ultimately performance. Who loves you for just being you? And can you accept that, hey, you don't always need to perform. You can just accept who you are in Christ. And you don't have to fear looking incompetent. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be afraid of rejection. And now I'm saying some things, my brothers, and yes, you will push back, my brothers. My brothers will say to us, listen, man, women, like Chris Rock said it, women are loved unconditionally. Men are only loved on the condition that we do what? That we produce, that we're strong, that we're reliable. That is unfortunate that a lot of our society and even the church is like that. The good news is our God, our Heavenly Father is not like that. And that you can have, with putting Him first, you can have relationships that do love you sacrificially and redemptively so that you don't have to put on the mask.
Now you know the truth.
What do you think about those four masks? What do you think about some of the solutions? What solutions do you offer to men, to others that you see putting on these masks? My brothers, the Lord has called you to walk in the light as He is in the light. So take off the masks. Walk true-faced. Walk in the light of God's good news that no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, no matter what you need, Jesus knows, Jesus understands, and Jesus delivers.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
Come on, family, leave a comment, hit the subscription bell, go ahead and let me know what you think and share this with others so they can also take off the masks.